Welcome to Happy Learning. Now we will see Carl Jung's personality theory. Carl Jung is the founder of analytical psychology. He proposed and developed the concept of archetypes, collective unconsciousness, and personality types related with individuation. He is a Swiss psychiatrist. Now we will see the analytical psychology. According to Jung's theory, it is related with introvert and extrovert of a person. He explains that the collective unconsciousness becomes highly developed and it is called as archetypes. The psyche. Psyche refers to all psychological process. It will be relating with our feelings, sensation, wishes, and so forth. Jung used the term psyche rather than mind to avoid the implication of consciousness in the later and to emphasize that the psyche embraces both conscious and unconscious process. Now we will see the levels of the psyche, that is, the mind. Conscious ego. Conscious images are those that are sensed by the ego, whereas the unconscious elements have no relationship with the ego. Ego as the center of consciousness, but not the core of personality. In the conscious ego, the psychologically healthy person, the ego takes secondary position to the unconscious self. The second level of psyche is personal unconsciousness. It embraces all repressed, forgotten or subliminary perceived experiences of one particular individual. It is formed by the individual experiences and their uniqueness. It is a complex process. In the level of psyche of personal unconsciousness, a complex is an emotionally toned conglomeration of associated ideas. Complexes are largely personal, but they may also be partly derived from humanity collective experiences. The third level of psyche is collective unconsciousness, has roots in the ancestral part of the entire species. The physical content of the collective unconsciousness are inherited and passed from one generation to the next. The collective unconsciousness do not lie dominant but are active and influenced by personal thoughts, emotion and actions. Collective unconsciousness is responsible for people's myth, legends and religious beliefs. In the collective unconsciousness, it does not refer to inherited ideas, but rather to humans' innate tendency to react in a particular way whenever their experiences stimulate a biologically inherited response tendency. Humans, like other animals, come into the world with inherited predisposition to act or react in certain way if their present experience touch on these biologically based predispositions. In the collective unconsciousness, Jung said that people have as many of their inherited tendency as they have a typical situation in life. The fourth level of psyche is archetypes. Archie images that derive from the collective unconsciousness. They are similar to complexes in that they are emotionally toned collection of associated images. But whereas complexes are individualized component of personal unconsciousness, archetypes are generalized and derived from the component of the collective unconsciousness. It is distinguished from instinct. Archetypes have a biological basis but originated through the repeated experience of human early ancestors. Dreams are the main source of archetypal material, and certain dreams often what Jung considered proof for the existence of the archetype. Now we will see the different type of archetypes. Persona, the side of personality that people shows to the world, is designated as persona. The term is well chosen because it refers to the mask worn by action in the early theatre. Although the persona is a necessary side of our personality, we should not confuse our public face with our complete self. If we identify too closely with our persona, we remain unconscious of our individuality and are blocked from attaining self-realization. Now we will see the next archetype, that is shadow. The archetype of darkness and repression represent those qualities we do not wish to acknowledge but attempt to hide from ourselves and others. Jung says that we must continually strive to know our shadows and that this is our first test of courage. Next we will see the anima. The feminine side of men originates in the collective unconsciousness in an archetype and remain extremely resistant to consciousness. The other archetype is animus, the masculine archetype in women. It is capable of influencing the thinking of a woman, yet it does not actually belong to that. In every female-male relationship, the woman runs a risk of projecting her distant ancestors' experiences with father, brother, lover, and son. Animus is also the explanation for the irrational thinking and illogical opinion after attribute to woman. Next we will see the archetype of Great Mother. Here it represents two opposition forces, fertility and nourishment on the one hand and power and destruction on the other. She is capable of producing and sustaining life, but she may also neglect her offsprings. The other archetype is Wise Old Man. Archetype of wisdom and meaning symbolizes humans' pre-existing knowledge of the mysteries of life. A man or woman dominated by the Wise Old Man archetype may gather a large following of disciplines by using verbiage that sounds profound that really makes a little sense because the collective unconsciousness cannot directly impart its wisdom to an individual. The next archetype is hero, represents the mythology and legend as a powerful person, sometimes grey, path god who fights against great odds to conquer. The other archetype is the self, in that Jung believes that each person possesses an inherited tendency to move towards growth, perfection and completion, and he cannot call this as innate. And he calls that it is innate disposition of the self. So, the archetypes is related with 8 different types, and these types tells about the different personality of the people. Now coming to the archic development. The unfolded and development of the personality involves establishing a relationship between the ego and the self. So here the self, it is centered to the total psyche, including conscious and unconscious. And the ego is identified with conscious mind. That is the center of consciousness. The personal unconsciousness, anything not conscious but can be. And collective unconsciousness is a kind of knowledge we are all born with, yet we are not directly conscious of. The personality types of Jung is, first one, it is related to attitude in seeing the world. Person of two types, introvert, extrovert. Introverts see the world in terms of how it affects them, and the extroverts are concerned with their impact on the world. The second personality type is preferred way of dealing with the world. It is related with the sensation and intuitions of the particular information what he receives, and the way he thinks and the world he feels and judge. So now we will see the attitudes, two types of personality told by Jung. That is one related with extroversion and another one is introversion. Extroversion is the tendency to look to the world in a wider manner, especially people for one's own pleasure. Extroverts are usually outgoing and they enjoy social activity, but they are uncomfortable when they are alone. Introversion. Introversion refers to a tendency to prefer the world inside oneself. The more obvious aspect of introversion or shyness, a distaste for social function and a love of privacy. So now you can see the differences of extrovert and the introverts. So clearly it has been distributed here who are the introverts and who are the extroverts are. So in the classroom situation as teacher, we need to know who are the introverts and who are the extroverts. With that, our teaching is reaching them means it will be very interesting and useful for the students. Thank you.